love to have a conversation.
A conversation about what?
I'll put this down.
About fake-ass
about
police?
anything.
About people saying they're sinners because they're gay and lesbians? I ought to beat the fuck out of you.
I am a sinner, sir. I am a sinner. I am. Do you know this verse right here?
No one gives a fuck about the Bible. It was written by lunatics.
All right, this verse right here says, "Oh, what a wretched man am I. Who can deliver me from this body of death?" I put that on my skin because I know that I am a wretched, evil, horrible, wicked, no good sinner. Me. I'm not saying that about you. I'm not saying about them. I'm not saying it about them. I'm saying that about me. I am a sinner. All right, so from the get-go, if that is where we're going to start, I'm not saying anything about you. I'm saying something about me. I am a sinner. Okay? I'm not saying I'm holier than you. I'm not saying I'm better than you. I'm not saying anything like that. There's no comparison. There's no contrast here. This is me, right here. This is me admitting that I am a sinner. We all have made mistakes. Everyone.
So what, are you saying being gay is a mistake?
What I'm saying, in this sentence of what I'm saying right now, is that all have sinned and fallen short. If you were to go up to any random person and say, "Are you a good person?" What do you think they're going to say? Chances are they're going to say, "Yeah, I'm a good person," right? Everybody will say, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm a good person." Everyone will say that. But what the Bible teaches is that we must be perfect before God. Not kind of good, not a little bit good, not mostly good, but a few years ago I did a lot of bad things.
I'm going to let you in on a little something that a preacher and both the priest can both agree on. When everyone goes to heaven, all y'all who say gay is a sin are going to be fucking rowdy.
All right.
Because he said there's going to be gays, there's going to be trans, there's going to be lesbian, rapists, murderers, all in heaven. So what the fuck are y'all going to do then when you say all this shit's a sin?
All right. The Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians, when he's listing off all the things that you just listed off, he said, "And such were some of you." He's talking to the people in the city, saying, "Hey guys, get your crap together, get your poop in a group, start doing things the way they should be done, because you used to be like all that kind of stuff." So here's a little thought experiment to help us understand something. If I were to have a piece of paper here, imagine I'm holding a piece of paper and I draw a circle. Now this circle represents moral sexual behavior. All right, that's what this circle represents. You would put something in that circle, right? All the things you just listed, gay, trans, lesbian, LGBTQIA+. You would put all that stuff in that circle, right? What wouldn't you put in that circle of moral sexual behavior? Because everybody has something. Most people will say, "I wouldn't put rape in that circle."
Good. How are you, Cindy?
Right?
What are you?
Most people wouldn't put rape in that circle. Right? Would you put rape in the circle of moral sexual behavior?
No, like they said, there's still going to be those kinds of people in heaven.
Right. So, if we have this circle of moral sexual behavior, you would put these things in it, I would put these things in it. The rapist would put rape in the circle. They would. The rapist says rape is okay. They do. The pedophile would put pedophilia in that circle. They would. The pedophile would draw a circle saying this is moral sexual behavior, and they would put pedophilia in there. The guy that likes to have sex with animals would put bestiality in that circle.
I want to know what this guy's even saying.
All right.
Know what this guy's even saying.
All right. You're welcome to join. I don't know if you guys know each other, but
I am curious what you're saying in this.
All right. So I'm having a little thought experiment. Where if there's a circle that represented moral sexual behavior,
Right.
what would you put in that circle? Everything outside of it is bad. Everything inside of it is good. What would you put in the good circle?
I put consensual activities between adults.
All right, you would put consensual activities between adults in the circle of moral sexual behavior.
Absolutely.
What if a rapist put rape in that circle?
I would disagree with that.
Right. So why are you right and the rapist is wrong?
I think the rapist is wrong because rape is an activity that is harmful to the victims of rape.
Right. But the rapist doesn't care about that.
The rapist doesn't care about that because the rapist has decided to put that aside and say, hey, I don't care about other people's rights. I care about my own feelings, my own desires, etc.
So why is the rapist wrong and the victim right? What I'm getting at is,
the
what's
the victim is harmed by an act of rape. The rape is not harmed at all by their own indulgence in their own behavior.
Right, but the rapist says, I'm right.
Yeah.
The victim says, you're wrong. Who says who is right? What's the standard?
Because the rape victim is harmed deeply by that act. Is that not incorrect?
Oh, by your standard, they're harmed deeply. What if the rapist says they're not harmed?
That would be incorrect.
By what standard?
You know, you can look at this pretty objectively, I feel. Yeah, rape is an act that causes psychological damage, and that's proven by all standards.
Right.
You can't disagree with that, can you? You can say, if somebody's raped, their mind is harmed.
Right. Forever.
They're harmed forever.
Forever. I agree. And I for the record, this is a side thing. I think rapists should be put to death. Mm-hmm. I don't stand for the death penalty anywhere except for rape. Rapists should be put to death. So let's get that out in the air. Now, the standard of moral sexual behavior, what is it? Why is the standard made by us? If I wanted to have sex with a 14-year-old, I just got to go to the Philippines. It's legal there. But if I have sex with a 14-year-old here, you'd call me a pedophile. But I wouldn't be a pedophile in the Philippines. So where's the standard?
I feel like the Philippines is probably not correct in their definition of age of consent. 14,
why?
A 14-year-old is not really a grown-up person. Is that right?
So,
14-year-old is too young, I would say.
Now, if you don't mind me stepping in here, because that was brought up recently about when people are mature.
Exactly.
Like, I don't fully agree with it. They say it's 25. I think it's about 16. You can make your own decisions.
To a certain point, it's a measure of subjective perception. But in this country, we say 18. I think that's pretty fair, myself.
But we need a standard.
Exactly.
We need an unchanging.
This country isn't always correct either.
It's not. You're right.
Each state, some states say 21.
You're right.
Because Texas, my friend can't move out of their home until they're 21, even though they have a job in their own vehicle.
So what's the standard?
In UK, they say 16. I think that's too low.
Yeah.
18 seems fair to me.
So what's the standard? There is no standard that transcends all time, all cultures, all people, but one. There is one standard. There is one common denominator for all humanity. Whether it's the year 1304 in France, whether it's the year 2025 in America, whether it's the year 800 in Russia, regardless of the time, regardless of the people, there is one unchanging standard of morality, and that comes from Jesus Christ.
What is Jesus Christ's stance on this? Like, what does Jesus say is the age?
The age of consent?
Yeah, exactly. Like, is that in the Bible?
The age of consent is not in the Bible, no.
No. Then what would you say is the appropriate age?
I would say it depends on the individual. I've met 40-year-old people with the mind of a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
I don't think they can consent to sex. But regardless of all the extenuating circumstances, if we have a standard that changes left to right, what happens in 15 years if the laws in America change? Are we just going to say that's right now? So we just have to sit on our feelings for 15 years until we can act on them?
So what's your stance on how it should be judged? Like, it depends on the person. Like, does that translate into legislation or?
It would, but I think that gets off into a different topic. I'm asking you, what is your standard of moral sexual behavior? Where does it come from? It's obviously not the Supreme Court. I can just guess that you're going to say no, right?
Yeah.
I would say no too. No, screw those old guys. No, that's not the standard. What is the standard? Where does it come from? Because if it's based on the individual, then nothing says the rapist is wrong and the victim is right. Without an unchanging standard, we can say the rapist is right and the victim is wrong. We can say, as they teach in Islam, that the victim is wrong for being raped. We need an unchanging standard of morality. Because if we don't, then anything is allowable.
I feel like if that's the case, then you should be able to tell me, though, like, what age the age of consent should be.
You're right. I would be able to tell you that, and it depends on the person. It totally depends on the person.
And unless you're able to translate that into a legislative, objective standard, I don't see, like.
All right. So
how do you think that should be determined, you know, you can say like, oh, metaphysically there's a standard, right? But how do we understand that standard and apply it to our actions?
That standard we get from Scripture, where the only moral sexual behavior is between a man and a woman in marriage. A cisgendered man and a cisgendered woman in marriage. That is the only moral sexual behavior. Because if we don't start with that standard, then we are going to make things up as we go along. You've already admitted we would make things up as we would go along. So if we don't have a standard, we make things up and it's a free-for-all, put your dick in anything you want. But if there is a standard and we all have to appeal to it, then it's there and there's nothing we can argue with. And that standard is laid down by Jesus Christ.
You got any stance here, Cindy? Do you take to this this stance?
I just came out as trans, and I'm not ashamed of it.
Yeah, me neither. You know, I definitely. I don't think the Bible's. You know, I'll be honest. I have not studied the Bible in detail. I don't think it says much about cisgender this or cisgender that, right?
It says man and woman.
Man and woman, and then we get down to a question of what does man mean?
I fully agree with you right there, because it says man and woman. What if said man has the full surgery and everything to become a woman? At that point, they're a woman. They can have ovaries and everything and put into
There
them.
you go, and people might
and
say...
then it's vice versa, the same issue.
People might say, you know, gender, man and woman is according to the DNA, the chromosomes. You know, back in the day, they didn't know anything about the DNA, didn't know anything about the chromosomes.
God created DNA, so I think he knew what he was talking about. God created chromosomes. I think he knew what he was talking about.
When you come down to the chromosomes, doesn't define the actual... what would you say, characteristics of man versus woman, say, you know, like I personally have chosen to live according to what I see as femininity, what I see as a woman's life. Here Cindy has as well, you know.
What if you're wrong?
What if I'm wrong? I understand on a very, 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 very deep fundamental level that I am not wrong on that, and I understand that as deep as you understand anything in your life.
But what is it based on?
It's based on my understanding of reality and
Yourself.
my understanding of myself. And when I sense reality, that's what I sense. When you sense reality, you have a deep faith, I'm sure, in how you understand the world. You know that God is real. You know that your faith is like true to your understanding, and that's my faith about myself.
But regardless of how I feel, because there are times, it's a roller coaster where I have doubt, where I have second guesses.
Yeah.
And regardless of how I feel, Jesus Christ is still God. Regardless of anything else, I'm not the standard. If I feel he is or if I feel he isn't, that doesn't change things. If you feel you are or you aren't, that would change things. Your feelings dictate your reality, and that's not good. That's not good at all. We need an unchanging standard, because what happens when suffering comes against you, when trauma from outside sources that we don't want comes against us, what do? We say, I deserved it. We say that person is a jerk. But all of it is based on that person or me. And only through a relationship with Jesus Christ is there meaning beyond our tragedy and our trauma. Romans 8:28 says that God works all things together for good for those who love him. So no matter what happens to me, be it good or bad, Jesus Christ is still God, and I will still see him when I die. And that offer of salvation is open to you, to me, to him, to every single person here. That offer is open to everyone. Scripture, the Bible, is filled with murderers, rapists, killers, liars, and thieves. There is only one perfect person in all of reality, and his name is Jesus Christ. There is no sin so dark he cannot forgive. He can forgive anyone of anything and make them new. And in fact, he will use their hurt to help them see him even clearer. That is what Christianity teaches. Not that my feelings are like this, and that I'm like this, but that God is true and unchanging.
you see that relates to me because I have my own doubts as well. I'm like, maybe this is all bullshit. Maybe I'm lying to myself. But at the end of the day, I understand. I come to an understanding that hey, this is how I am. This is how I feel. That this is how I'm supposed to be. And I'm sure you've come to a similar understanding and are. And come to that understanding through your community and through your life, and
We got you.
Hey, what's your name?
I'm Chris.
Hey,
We got you.
who do you represent?
You.
You represent me?
I do.
Fantastic. I appreciate that. I'm just having a discussion with this man.
Well,
We're just.
they're not gonna listen.
We're having a good. I don't think he's gonna listen to me either. But at the end of the day, it's good to have a discussion, and
Just know that Jesus Christ is God, the eternal King of the universe, unchanging, always there, always faithful. You can go to Him whenever, with whatever.
No, I understand, and I appreciate. I'm not a person of faith.
You can be.
If I wish you would come and stay. No.
You can be.
I've thought a lot about it. I have a very deep philosophical underlying system, but the fact that the main reason I'm skeptical of Christianity is because of all these things that seem to be very arbitrary towards people. Cindy.